What's going on, everybody? Matthew back again, this time for another movie review. Today we're reviewing Beetlejuice. Let's get into it.
It's showtime.
The movie begins with us being reintroduced to Lydia Dietz, who now runs a TV show where she speaks to ghosts. It's here where she finds out that a family member of hers has passed away, and this kind of kickstarts the story as they all have to move back to the house to try to sell it. I'm not going to tell any spoilers, so let's go ahead and jump into the plot. I found the plot to be kind of convoluted. You have the character of Dolores, played by Monica Bellucci. You also have another character named Jeremy, played by Arthur Conti. And you also have a character named Wolf Jackson, played by Willem Dafoe. Let alone all the other characters, such as Beetlejuice, obviously. And then you have Lydia, her daughter Astrid, her boyfriend Rory, and then her stepmother from the first film, Delia. None of these storylines ever coalesce, and they kind of just stay on their own, which really does make the movie feel convoluted. I really believe that had they come together, it would have worked, but they never do. The character of Dolores, played by Monica Bellucci, has a history with Beetlejuice, but they barely have any screen time, nor does she have any with the other characters in the film. So it kind of makes her storyline feel wasted when it could have been well used. There's a certain way they could have made these storylines coalesce that I won't spoil here. I'm going to have to give the plot a 6 out of 10. Let's move to the writing. There's a certain part where Astrid meets a boy named Jeremy, and it's very rushed, and they become friends very quickly, and it feels very inorganic and unrealistic. The movie is not as funny as I wanted it to be. Beetlejuice is disgusting as he should be, but he's certainly not as raunchy as he had been in the original. And he actually seems like a tamer version of himself. And that could have been because of what happened to him at the end of the original, but they never acknowledge that he's learned any kind of lesson or anything like that. So I can't say him being tamer was for that reason. It's easy to tell from the movie that they didn't think very highly of Jeffrey Jones, who played Charles in the original, as he's kind of sorta in the movie, but not really. We did get a backstory to Beetlejuice and how he died, which I did really like, and I think it really does fall in line with his character. And it does come from certain things that he's mentioned in the original. Astrid, who's played by Jenna Ortega, and is Lydia Dietz's daughter, doesn't really get along with her mother, which really does feel like a trope. And it isn't really explored any further than Astrid complaining about her mother, claiming to see ghosts. She does have classmates that do pick on her, which could add to her not liking her mother, but it doesn't make it any less of a trope. I'm going to have to give the writing a 6 out of 10 as well. Let's move to the cinematography. The practical effects were very good, and there were some neat classic Tim Burton shots, like an overhead tilted shot of Lydia at the beginning when she's doing her show. I cannot praise the practical effects of this film enough, given the time we live in. Other than Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, these practical effects were the star of the film. I have to give the cinematography a 10 out of 10. Moving to the acting, there's a character death, and the way the characters react are not at all the way a family member would act if they're learning of the death. But is that the writing? It's hard to blame the actors when they're told not to take the death very seriously. If they don't cry when their loved one dies because the script says not to, is that really the actor's fault? Other than that one moment in the film, I found the acting to be fine. I have to give it a 10 out of 10. Okay, let's move to the pace. It took us forever to get to the main plot, and when we finally did, there wasn't much time at all to explore it. I kept waiting for the plot to kick into gear. I have to give the pace a 5 out of 10. All in all, I have to give the movie a 7.4 out of 10. I was entertained, and I did like the movie. Michael Keaton was obviously very good as Beetlejuice, and all the other actors were serviceable in their role. Monica Bellucci didn't have very much to do. Willem Dafoe was there, and he was pretty funny, but he didn't really add much to the story. You could have taken him out of the movie and Monica Bellucci as well, and the story still works on its own. I wish they could have found a better way to tie in those characters to the plot, because I did enjoy those characters, they just didn't have anything to do. Okay, so moving to spoilers. The character that died that forced him to go back to the house is Charles, and you can tell that the people behind the movie really did not like that actor. They do an animated sequence where it shows him dying in a plane crash just to be revealed that he survived, just to get eaten by a shark. And then the rest of the movie, we see him wandering around the afterlife, missing his head, and I'm guessing that he was voiced by a different actor as well. You have the Dolores storyline, the Jeremy storyline, and the Wolf Jackson storyline. And like I said, they never coalesce. You could have had them come together in terms of Dolores working with Jeremy to bring Astrid into the other plane of existence, to draw out Beetlejuice for Dolores, and so that Jeremy can use Astrid to get his life back. As I mentioned earlier, Dolores doesn't have any screen time other than the flashback with Beetlejuice. Other than that, she's just walking around the afterlife looking for Beetlejuice until she ultimately finds him at the church where she barely speaks before she's taken out by the sandworm. She also doesn't have any screen time with the family. I did like the twist with Jeremy turning out to be an evil ghost, and I really didn't see that coming when they were just hanging out at the treehouse. I thought that he was just going to be some love interest. I knew something was up when we weren't allowed to see his parents' faces, but I still didn't expect him to be a ghost. I just thought he was working for Dolores. But anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you thought about the film in the comments below. Please hit that like button and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. Take it easy, guys.